Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post. Hollywood panics as Trump's tariffs threaten billions in ad revenue. The Trump tariffs have finally hit, and they're pretty high. Hollywood's concerned. From The Hollywood Reporter, Trump tariffs timing couldn't be worse for Hollywood. Studios are about to start talking about buying advertising over the next coming weeks. Streaming has become more and more dependent on advertising revenue from major advertisers, but also a lot of these studios also have television networks. They need the ad revenue. They need it for their cable channels as well. But now it's a little bit less steady. And this is something they're getting hysterical about that they should be hysterical about. Because nobody really knows what the tariffs are going to do to the international economy. Long term, it will be great for the United States. But even if it's great for the United States long term, that's not the only place that the studios are trying to do business in. From Deadline, how Donald Trump's trade tariffs will hit the international film and TV business. So far, it looks like international productions sent by Hollywood studios and producers overseas to be produced more cheaply, are not going to be hit with tariffs. It's more of a product-focused thing than it is a service-focused thing. However, Trump does want that business in the United States. So studios and producers are also worried that Trump is going to have other measures that are going to limit their ability to do cheap productions, let's say in Romania, to try to save Hollywood's film production industry, which you would think they would care about, which they do care about, but they care mostly about how it affects them personally. They will make less money if he protects domestic production of TV shows and movies. And when it comes down to it, that's what this is all about. Do you need to make more money personally, or do you want your country to do better? Trump was elected to try to make the whole country do better. But that doesn't mean you're going to sell a lot of advertising in Hollywood. Studios will begin their upfront talks with media buyers in the coming weeks, with billions of dollars in revenue at stake, right as major advertising buyers are re-examining their budgets amid global economic uncertainty. President Trump on Wednesday afternoon declared what he called Liberation Day, announcing wide-ranging tariffs that Trump argued will rebalance the global trade order and, in his words, make America rich. At least get back to having a middle class again, where it's aspirational to be part of the middle class. Many entertainment executives were surely watching what happened closely, and they aren't feeling very rich right now. The media business might not be built on imported physical goods, but many of its largest advertisers are, and the ad business is already beginning to feel the pain, according to multiple sources on the buy side of the advertising and the sell side of the advertising, who tell this to The Hollywood Reporter. This is a legitimate thing. It's fine for them to be hysterical over this because, yeah, they're in trouble. They need businesses to have certainty to know how much money they can spend on advertising, especially selling products and goods. And in terms of the cost of the products and goods, for some of the manufacturers, it's not even clear because, yeah, the tariffs are pretty sizable. Some major advertising categories like automotive, consumer packaged goods, and food and drinks are beginning to re-examine their spending as they crunch the numbers to figure out how the looming tariffs and the possibility of an all-out trade war will impact their businesses. At the same time, a potential decline in tourism from Canada and Europe has the potential to weaken the travel sector, where airlines and hotels compete for consumer dollars. It's difficult for anybody to really comprehend how many jobs in the world were made possible by supporting products that were sent into America for consumption. Even the car industry. We only make about half of the cars that are bought in the United States. And some of those half of the cars have parts that are made internationally to begin with. And that's great for importers, but domestically, we don't have a lot of high value added jobs. Like we're missing a lot of jobs we otherwise could have in the United States, which is to say we're supporting good paying jobs internationally, like throughout the world, by how much we consume. And that's going to continue, but it's not going to continue as much as it was. A lot of that's going to get reversed over time. And in the meantime, as that's happening and the tariffs work through the system, it's going to mean a lot of disruption, especially in other countries. People will not have the same job opportunities they used to have in foreign countries. Quote, it really is a perfect storm of bad news, one high-level media source says, noting that while current scatter pricing is okay for now, the outlook isn't looking as hot for the remainder of the year. Scatter pricing is a reference to how they sell advertising. The tariffs affect every country, with everything from grocery staples and cars to electronics and raw materials set to be impacted when the tariffs go into effect. Stock market futures plummeted after Trump announced the moves. In the past couple of weeks, the influential advertising analyst Brian Weiser and the media intelligence firm Magna have each lowered their advertising growth forecast for 2025. Weiser lowered his 2025 outlook to 3.6%, down from 4.5% in December. Magna lowered its outlook from 4.3%, down from 4.9% previously. Yes, they expect the ad business will grow, but it will mark a sharp downward swing from 2024, and essentially all that growth will be coming from tech giants like Google and Meta. Part of the objective of these tariffs as well is to force the Fed's hand, get them to lower interest rates. It will likely happen, but what's happening already is long-term interest rates are coming down, which means borrowing money for the government is cheaper. It also means borrowing money in general will be cheaper. Things like that are very important, especially for the economy overall, and also for the country's budget deficits and financing all their deficits. The lower the long-term interest rate, the less money they'll have to spend to finance the massive government debts. Quote, in December, we wrote about 2025's uncertainty in the wake of a U.S. federal election that produced what appeared to us as a negative outcome for the advertising industry, given the incoming administration's articulated policy preferences. According to Weiser, quote, by now, nearly 3 months into the year, what we can see is a certainty of additional negative factors, including volatility around trade policies and a more extreme threat to supply chains and corporate decision-making than we previously expected. Quote, while total ad spend is still expected to grow in the mid-single digits, digital media and ad sales will continue to experience high-digit sales growth. In contrast, most traditional media channels may face stagnating ad revenues this year. Even tech giants, however, are not immune. MoffettNathanson's Michael Nathanson wrote in a March 31st note on YouTube that even the king of ad-supported streaming video will likely see its growth moderate. Quote, while the platform's expanding reach among older demographics enhances its monetization potential, its ability to make money, we think the growing supply of impressions across the broader CTV ecosystem could exert downward pressure on ad pricing, offsetting those gains. Additionally, a softer macroeconomic environment may put pressure on ad budgets industry-wide. As a result, we now project YouTube's advertising revenue to grow in the low double digits over the next few years. So nobody escapes. Everybody gets hurt by the advertising apocalypse. For many traditional media companies like the entertainment giants, ad anxiety seems to be all the rage right now, and low double-digit growth would be a dream come true. Despite the gloom and doom from executives and advertising analysts, JP Morgan's David Karnovsky noted in a March 28th report that there's been no softness observed so far in the ad market, with local TV being a notable exception given the heavy reliance on automotive ads. Because the price of cars looks like it's going up a lot, like 25% tariffs on imported cars. That is going to make them a little bit more expensive. Buy American, it will be cheaper. Still, if there is a silver lining for traditional media companies, it is that sports programming, which they are all leaning into heavily, should feel a degree of protection from any chaos given continued strong demand. Both buy and sell side sources say that demand for live sports continues unabated. Quote, sports remains robust while streaming video is still managing through the impact of increased supply in the market, wrote Bank of America analyst Jessica Reif-Ehrlich in a March 28th report, adding that in streaming, the market is still grappling with Amazon's decision last year to turn on ads for Prime Video, causing inventory to explode. When Amazon decided that they would sell ads on Prime, that made available a tremendous amount of advertising inventory, so a lot more options for you to market products, because here you have access to Prime now. You didn't have access to that before. The more supply, the lower the price in almost every situation. Quote, for advertising, executives highlighted continued robust demand for sports on linear and streaming, while news also appears to be strong where ratings are higher, with preemptions the only constraint on growth, according to Karnovsky. Quote, linear entertainment was described as fine, with scatter holding above upfront pricing. In general, dollars appear to be moving from cable entertainment to news and sports for reach and CTV for targeting. The latter has seen depressed CPMs as a result, though this seems to have bottomed. Depressed CPMs means lower revenue per viewer generated for the advertising platform. And since I keep talking about scatter pricing, in advertising, scatter pricing refers to the pricing of advertising inventory that's not bought during upfronts, allowing advertisers to purchase ad slots closer to the air date, offering more flexibility and potentially lower prices. A lot of advertising is sold well in advance of shows being aired. Scatter pricing is after shows have started the regular seasons and when you're buying available spots as they're available. Still, the timing of the tariffs and downturn couldn't be worse for entertainment companies, which will begin their upfront conversations with media buyers in the coming weeks. The upfronts are when advertisers commit billions of dollars in spending to secure the best rates and best programming. One entertainment advertising executive says they believe this year's presentations will lean in hard to sports and live events to try to mitigate the broader concerns in the market. They also expect to secure commitments from buyers to spend on some entertainment programming, at least on streaming, in order to guarantee prime inventory on the best sporting events. So if you want to get the sporting events for your ads, you're going to have to buy some of the entertainment stuff as well. Just like selling ESPN, which a lot of households seem to want on their cable, as they have for decades, and then Disney getting to force all kinds of extra Disney channels on cable companies that they never even wanted and consumers don't even want. Now they're doing it with advertising on sports programming. A buy-side source, meanwhile, says that clients are beginning to think about where they will prioritize buys should the economy further deteriorate or if tariffs impact product offerings. Sports are likely to stick, with entertainment spend likely becoming more focused and targeted. Given the trajectory of the economy, some brands may take the risk of moving more of their budgets to the scatter market, where prices and inventory are more fluid. And since there are so many places where companies can advertise now, it doesn't really make that much sense for them to commit a lot of extra money up front unless they really need that sports platform, and they have to reach sports fans when they're going to have a lot of extra inventory to buy pretty much at a lot less money. And while it hasn't happened yet, executives are still crossing their fingers that HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s long-promised threat to ban pharmaceutical advertising does not become a reality. Because if it did, the cable companies in particular would be in serious trouble. They want those ads. They need those ads. Who else is going to buy those ads? Karnofsky writes that the executives he spoke to didn't sense any concern on the issue, with some noting that lobbying pushback on a ban would be intense, and in a worst-case scenario, there would be replacement demand, especially for sports. And from Deadline, international production of TV shows and movies are under threat. Around the world, red flags are waving that this protectionism from America could extend to local content obligations, which have become the bedrock of certain territories over the past few years, because Hollywood productions need to provide jobs apparently for everyone else in the world except for people in the United States. At least that's how they see it. A Europe-wide audiovisual media services directive allows individual European nations to impose financial obligations and content quotas on streamers. Numerous territories across the globe, including in Europe, Australia, and Canada, have solidified these as streaming services take advantage of their cheaper production hubs, but forcing American companies to produce content abroad when they could be spending their dollars at home does not suit the Trump mantra. Several weeks back, a White House memo lambasted these directives that require American streaming services to fund local productions. Since then, the Motion Picture Association has highlighted disproportionate investment obligations in Europe and has been surveying its powerful member base on the topic. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another story. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.